Hey there, Shauna Bell here, founder and owner of S Bell Wellness, a healthy lifestyle and natural products company. I'm coming to you with part 4 of our series called Breaking Up with Sickcare. If you haven't jumped into this series yet, I welcome you to get onto the YouTube channel, back up, go to parts 1, 2, and 3, and see what we have been kind of diving into. But the premise here is that we are looking at ways that we can be empowered to support our own health and take more of an integrative approach, a partnership in our wellness. So let's talk about part 4. What are we going to be diving into? So this is going to be about our eating. And I'm not going to feed you with, I think you should eat this, or go try this, or here is a meal plan for you, or specific foods that I think you should go out and make sure that you are, staying strict with. That's not what this is about. That's not my style with coaching. I really believe in the power of bio-individuality as an integrative nutrition health coach. And what that means is really we have to eat intuitively. We have to notice what's going on with our body. I've talked about that throughout this series. We have to pay attention to how foods make us feel. And we get to do this in a way that's really going to help us feel good in a sustainable way. And so that's why I believe in figuring out what best fuels and serves your body versus following a very specific diet. As an integrative nutrition health coach, I have learned, over 100 dietary approaches. So if there's specific ones that you feel you want to know more about, that's something I can help support you in coaching, but it's not something I'm going to, forwardly be feeding you. There are some guidelines. I'm going to talk about that today, of things that we all really will notice some really good things in our body if we are fueling ourselves in certain ways, and also if we're avoiding some things. And so we'll talk about that today. But I want to just really set that premise of it's not a one size fits all. And for it to be sustainable, it really has to be about how it makes you feel when you're eating these things. All right, so let's do a little check-in. So I invite you to kind of think about your current eating habits. What does that look like? Are you, a busy person and you feel like you're always on the go? Maybe you forget to eat. Maybe you're grabbing something quick. Are you making some meals at home? What does that look like for you? So just kind of take a little self-assessment of what that looks like. Have you tried certain dietary approaches in the past? What did you like about them? What did you feel like was missing, right? So if you start to think about those things, start to think about how they made your body feel, then you can start to see where you want to pick up and move forward with this eating to empower your wellness. And then we'll kind of go into a little bit here about some things that I think are incredibly important for all of us to maybe think about. Can we do this? So having a 80-20 or on a best weeks 90-10 approach to eating can be really supportive of our wellness. What does that mean? So that means 80% of the time we really are filling our plate with things that are whole foods, really supportive of our body. And then, 20% of the time allowing ourselves to have those treats that we enjoy. So this eating style is incredibly important, that we're not looking at deprivation, because that's really just not sustainable. And it's not about willpower as much as you can hear that in the diet world. It's really not. We can be biologically addicted to some things like sugar. I'll talk about it in a minute. And it's really not about willpower. So we want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success by not having that all or nothing mindset. So that 80-20 is a really great place to start. If you have been eating to fuel your body and wellness for a while, starting to transition into that 90-10 can be supportive for you as well. So really just kind of thinking through how we can start to build in wellness through food. All right, and then we'll start to think about what are some things that we can add in on this 90% of the time, or this 80% if we're there. You guys, whole foods are incredibly important, okay? So, those vegetables, those fruits, whole grains, quality meats. It's really important to know where our food is coming from, how, if you are consuming animal products, how those animals were treated, cared for, what they ate. All of those things are incredibly important. So getting curious about those things a little bit at a time can help support you. And that's something that, I dig into and help my coaching clients if that's an area that is of need too. It's definitely something that I'm continuing to grow and learn personally as well. And then, adding in things like fish, if that's a preference for you. Eggs get a bad reputation, and they can be incredibly important for our health, especially when you're choosing eggs that are, again, pasture raised. Making sure the animal was cared for is really important, as I talked about in a previous part of this course about how energy is transferred. And so we want to make sure that we're being mindful of that. Beans can be very supportive depending on how your body responds to them. Dairy also gets a bad reputation. Again, it's about quality. If your body is okay with that, building that in a mindful way. I also think that the market talks a lot about, doing low-fat dairy products instead of whole dairy products. And it's just, there's some false information there. And there's, some things that are removed in that process that our body actually needs. And so, again, I can help you dig in a little bit more on that if that's something you're curious about. Nuts and seeds can be very helpful for our body if you tolerate them well. Healthy oils are really important, things like avocado oil and olive oil. Grass-fed butter is actually incredibly healthy for our body. Getting these good fats in there, really important. And then drinking water is so important to stay hydrated. So those are some top things that we can kind of be thinking about as we are tapping into this 80-20 or 90-10 approach. What am I building on my plate for these meals? What am I adding in for snacks? And then what are some things you might want to start avoiding? Processed foods, right? So if you're looking at a label and you're seeing, ingredients that are this long, it's probably a red flag. There's probably not a lot of actual food ingredients in there. And it's something that we want to start weeding out. Start paying attention to it. Just read it. I know when I started this, I just started reading it and was like, wait, what is that? Right? Start asking questions. Start being curious, wondering about it, looking up some of them, seeing what they are, where they're coming from. You'll be incredibly surprised, and it'll be much easier to weed them out because you're learning that it's not something that you want in your body, most likely. And then, refined grains, we want to make sure that we're kind of weeding those out. Trans fats, those are being weeded out a little bit in the marketing of food these days, but still want to be mindful of that yourself. Caffeine, right? Caffeine, we all have probably had some experience with how it helps us feel fueled, but how it might come up short in many ways. And so there's two, schools of thought on caffeine. There's those that say like, oh, it's so bad, and there's others that say like, let's think about it mindfully. And so I'm probably more on that side of thinking about it mindfully. There's actually some great resources out there on that. If you want, I can grab those for you and help you if that's an area that you're looking to kind of weed out or break up with a little bit of the too much side of caffeine. Let me know, I can help support that. And then last but not least, I mentioned a little earlier, was sugar. You guys, we are biologically addicted to sugar. It truly is not about willpower. The food industry designed it this way, and we have to be empowered to notice. Notice how you feel when you're consuming a lot of sugar, and just start to pay attention, okay? So as women, our bodies can tolerate about 26 grams of added sugar a day, men about 38 grams. And so that, I think, is really important information for us as we start to look at what we're taking in. Just starting to be mindful of that. And so I am talking about added sugars. And so, there are sugars naturally in some of our whole foods too. Our body's going to process that differently because of the fiber that's in there. So we really want to, as we're starting to weed out some of these things, pay attention, notice what maybe some of your favorite sugary beverages or your favorite snack foods, what is the added sugar in there, and is it in line with what my body can process? And so the body's incredibly smart. It actually starts to store that stuff as fat to try to help the detox organs not get overtaxed, those kind of things. So that's where we see, problems start to happen, or, weight gain start to happen, disease start to happen, because our body's actually trying to support us from what we're taking in, and we start to see this unhealthy inflammatory response from it. So something we really would benefit from is really paying attention to that sugar intake. And I actually think it's probably one of the top ways to really start to break up with Sickcare. I really do. You've heard before, food is medicine. It can really be important to our overall wellness. So I hope that this is helpful information, just little nuggets here for you. Like I've mentioned before, I really hope, take a deeper dive into this individually in my health coaching programs. So if that is something that you feel like you're ready for or would like to be a part of, let's get on a discovery call together and chat about that. So you can find all my contact information on any way you're following me on social media, or jump on over to spellwellness.com. There's a contact sheet there that you can get straight to my inbox. We can have a chat and just kind of figure out if maybe one of the coaching programs is going to support some goals you have around feeling empowered, breaking up with Sickcare, being able to have a partnership in your wellness. All right. Again, if you haven't already, go back and check out, parts 1, 2, and 3, and we'll be back soon for our next part in this series. Take care, and I hope to see you soon.